This episode of the only podcast about movies was recorded a little differently. Being that the studio was in a bit of a state of flux, we decided to record in Shahir's living room.
Yay.
So if you hear any echoes, anomalies, I don't know, crying victims in the background, please don't mind it. It'll be back to normal soon enough.
You really think I'm a serial killer, don't you?
And with that in mind, enjoy the show. What is up, Internet? Now you're in the sunken place. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And you know I can't give you these keys, right, babe? My name is Shahir Dowd.
Oh, I love it when you call me babe.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
We're getting closer.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film Get Out.
Get out.
Get Out. It reminded me at first, before I saw it and saw what it was, of the scene in Terminator 2 when the T-1000 liquids
into the chopper.
Yeah.
So it gets out.
Oh, actually, I think in Terminator 1 they do it as well.
What, Get Out?
He does it in a car.
Probably.
Yeah,
I'm sure that.
But this is not that.
Yeah, and this is a film I've been excited about, even though I haven't watched any of the trailers.
You don't watch any trailers anyway?
I don't watch any trailers, but because this is the directorial debut of one Jordan Peele,
yes,
whom I'm a big fan of.
I am a fan as well.
From Key and Peele, and the second Key and Peele film we've done.
That is true.
Although
this is a Peele film.
This is a Peele film, not a Key film.
Yeah, we did Keanu, and we liked Keanu fine.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No, I didn't like Keanu.
Oh.
Go back.
I liked it fine.
Really?
I thought it was inoffensive and fun and a good time.
Yeah, well, and let's see if we can get offensive on this one.
Well, I mean, I don't think it will be, but this is no. I was very excited to do this one as well. The premise of it from the moment I did see the trailer kind of jumped out at me, and I was like, yes, like this.
Well,
looks awesome.
I mean, I guess I was excited because it's also a Blumhouse film, and this is a Blum. With the Gift was one of my favorite films of the previous year, which is also a Blumhouse horror film.
Right.
So I like that kind of working style that the Blumhouse guys have, which is the pay a low budget for the film, but give them a decent back end on the end, which means you get these sort of slightly more true to form horror films.
Sure, yeah.
But before we move on to the film itself, I wanted to catch up on some emails. And
we haven't done that in a bit.
Yeah, we haven't done that in a bit. Even though we've been pretty active on Twitter recently.
Yes,
a lot of back and forth on
Let's
Twitter.
pat ourselves in the back for our social media presence. I think we're doing a bang-up job.
And if you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at onlymoviepod. And check out our website, onlymoviepodcast.com. This email came into us. It's a little bit of a delayed email based off our 2016 year in review.
We're only 2 months late.
2 months late, but Jacob, who is a frequent commentator, hi Jacob.
Hi Jacob.
Thanks for writing in. We appreciate that. In fact, I had to prod him a little bit to write this in because there was a little bit of Twitter back and forth. He was like, I want to write in, but I don't want to.
Are you harassing our listeners?
I am harassing him. I apologize.
Wow.
For that. Actually, I don't.
Let that be a warning, everybody.
Sorry, not sorry. But then I realized why when he sent the email. It was a very long, very thoughtful email where he had cataloged your top 10 against my top 10 against his top 10.
There was some work done.
Yeah, against his top 20. Jacob, I don't know you in person, but obviously you're a person who likes to analyze data on spreadsheets. So I
loved it.
Yeah, I thank you for that. I wanted to say just up front, Jacob wanted to take some heat against my top 10 because he didn't understand why I would put films from 2015 onto the list.
Yeah,
and his argument was you wouldn't see Spotlight or Son of Saul in this year's Oscar race, so why put them on your personal top 10 list? Jacob, I have no defense there other than if I didn't put it on this list, Son of Saul and Spotlight wouldn't end up on any list of mine, which I think is a shame because I love those films and I've watched them repeatedly since. So my only defense is my way of
or the highway.
It's my way of including those films which we saw in 2016, but it may have came out in 2015. We don't go out any further than that, though. We don't put in films from 1965.
Oh, give it time, Shahir. I'm sure you'll find some loopholes to throw whatever other movies you want in there.
But I wanted to read out Jacob, if you don't mind, I'd love to read out your list, and you have no way of rebutting me at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and
Jacob,
do it.
do you mind? Oh, good. The silence means go.
Yeah, the silence means go.
He's literally screaming right now at us, being like, no!
What I like about this list is it's pointed out a few films that we haven't seen that we should. I'm going to go reverse chronology here. So starting from 10, Morris from America, starring Craig Robinson, which is a film I saw one trailer of, and it looked like a very small, intimate film.
Right.
About a young kid who moves to Germany, I believe. So yeah, I've been wanting to check that out, but if the fact that it made Jacob's list has made me want to see it a little more. Also, The Edge of 17 is his number 9, another film that is on my iTunes list right now, and I've heard very good things of. Sort of a little bit like Perks of Being a Wallflower, I think, in terms of being like a coming of age film that's actually worth checking out. Operation Avalanche is a film which takes Jacob's number 8 position. I had not even heard of that before, but Jacob says it's a reimagining of history, found footage, mockumentary, conspiracy thriller about a CIA agent that infiltrates NASA and tries to expose a mole, but ends up getting wrapped up in the moon landing and filming a faking of it with the help of Stanley Kubrick. Actually, I might have seen a trailer of this, but I didn't really.
You better not have.
No, when I went to the movies to see... Don't Think Twice. I remember might have seen a trailer for it then. Also, there was a trailer for another movie that Jacob's been trying to get us to see, which is a movie called Demon.
Yeah.
Which I've heard is very good as well. Up number 7 would be The Witch, film that made my number 2. The Lobster is number 6, which also ended up in my list, but not on yours, Matt.
Nope.
The Handmaiden, which we just reviewed, and I agree would have ended up on my list if you had seen it. Yeah, if I'd seen it and done. So it might. So much to Jacob's chagrin, it might actually end up on my 2017 list.
No.
It's gonna happen.
Rolling up the newspaper.
The Green Room at number 4. That's a film you really liked, but we, for some reason, didn't end up on your list.
Yeah, it was effective in the moment for me, and then I just haven't given it much thought after the fact.
I got to interview Jeremy Saulnier this year, and he's a lovely, lovely guy, and I hope to see more big films from him. I know he just got announced for a couple of... his name, with Ben Affleck dropping out of the Batman movie, I think his name was tossed around as a potential replacement director, and I agree. I think that would have been very cool.
Yeah.
Captain Fantastic at number 3. Again, heard very, very good things, particularly of Viggo Mortensen. And I hear, being a parent, this might be a film to check out.
Oh, wait, do you have a kid?
No. Just
I was going to say, because we are in your apartment right now, I don't see a child anywhere.
He's very quiet. He's locked in the basement.
Oh, all right. Well behaved.
Very well behaved. Chloroform will do that to you. Captain Fantastic at number 3. La La Land at number 2, a film that did not appear on either of our lists, and Manchester by the Sea at number 1. I think that's interesting in a relationship to the Oscars, which just happened. I mean, Matt, did you check out the Oscars? What did you...
I was in the middle of moving.
Yeah.
So it was the one night I had no internet or cable.
But here's the thing. It's impossible to miss what happened at the Oscars.
I didn't know until the morning.
Right. I was funny. I was in an Uber. And my driver was like, "Are you keeping up with the Oscars?" I was like, "Not really." And he goes, and his wife just texted him at that moment. He goes, "La La Land won Best Picture," and I was like, "Oh, really?" And I was kind of bummed out about it. And
as you should be.
Yeah, and then I got home and it was like, "No, Moonlight won Best," and I was very confused because I didn't watch it.
I mean, this is the most interesting thing that happened at the Oscars in my lifetime.
Maybe next to the Marissa Tomei win.
No, but it's just like, this is as odd as it was, and whether you liked the moment or you think someone messed up or it could have been handled differently or blah blah blah. This is the kind of thing that's going to get people talking about the Oscars.
Oh, absolutely.
And so honestly, this flub was probably the best thing that could have happened. Overall, I think the for the most part, I think I like all of the winners. Viola Davis was great. Emma Stone. I mean, I love Emma Stone, even though I'm not a fan of La La Land.
It's strange to think. And, like Emma Stone is an Oscar winner now. I'm just remembering her from Superbad
or Easy A.
Yeah.
And Moonlight, definitely. I wanted to win 100%. I didn't think it was going to happen, and bam.
Yeah.
So.
I definitely was pleased that Moonlight won. It's my number 1 film of the year, so I was very happy about that. But I think I said in that episode as well. I don't really care if it wins or not. I think it's a film for
Of course.
the ages.
I
so-
mean, well, now it's up there with the upper echelon of other Oscar-winning films such as Suicide Squad.
yeah, Suicide Squad won an Oscar. Has a Marvel film ever won an Oscar?
I don't think so.
No.
I think for some of the visual effects stuff they have.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
What
right
did
in
Suicide
onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure like
What did Suicide
Iron
Squad
Man
win for?
makeup.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, it's
the
right
people
up. It's right
that
up there
wrote
with
"damaged" on Jared Leto's forehead.
Yeah, it's right up there with like the Fellowship of the Rings. in
It
terms of
beat
their makeup
Star
win.
Trek, which Star Trek's makeup I thought was wonderful.
See, there are certain categories I don't know how to judge because I don't have the technical capacity to know what like when they do sound mixing, for example.
Right.
Sound mixing and sound design. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, it sounds good.
I feel like I can differentiate the two, but actually I will say this. I think even though Joker and Harley got kind of the shine in this thing, I think the makeup they did on Killer Croc looked phenomenal.
Okay. But not any better than I would have expected it to, like given what that character was. Given
Yeah,
the
but
budget
I
of the
mean,
movie.
look at the way that monstrous sort of non-CG characters have been handled in the past.
Right.
Like I was expecting much worse.
Right. Okay.
I was shocked at the level of quality of that.
I think didn't the best makeup award once go to Charlize Theron for Monster probably as well?
I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So it's that's the thing. It's such a like it's whenever they win best editing award best editing. Like sometimes it's like, well, you want the editing of a film to be entirely invisible. So I remember when The Social Network won it, I was like, huh. I mean, it's a very well edited.
I mean,
film.
or do you? Because sometimes the editing can help tell the story, and that's
a film like JFK, for example. I was like, where the editing is so noticeable,
Yeah.
it's rat-a-tat.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to judge that. But listen, again, thank you, Jacob, for writing us in. I hope we get to do a couple of these. I think he mentioned a film, Train to Busan, a Korean zombie film that I've been hearing a lot of love of. There's another Korean moderate horror film called The Wailing that I'm hoping that we get to do at some
Is that about screaming or is that about whales and like the whaling industry?
It's screaming.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could be both.
I'm hoping to see that at some point as well.
And the last little bit of housekeeping I wanted to mention was we're doing a panel.
Oh, another panel.
That is right. We're doing the trifecta of getting good GUD at making video game movies. We're going to be at PAX East Friday, 1 p.m., Dragonfly Theater. It's going to be pretty nuts. So
Yes.
come on down, check out. This is the last time we're going to be doing this one. We're going to be doing more panels in the future, but this is just going to be the swan
These have been
song.
a lot of fun as well. It's been
really good.
Yeah, audience engagement in these things are crazy.
Yeah, so we
People
appreciate-
really get into
Yeah,
this.
we appreciate you guys coming out and asking questions. There will be giveaways. I just got the giveaways in.
Oh, wow.
There's
I don't
some
think
of the
I paid
best.
my half of this
No, it's
giveaways.
okay. That's okay. It'll be some of the best and the worst that video game cinema has to offer. So come check that out. Oh, and also I found out, Shahir, they're going to be streaming it live on Twitch.
Oh, cool.
So you can
I
actually.
don't know what that is. No,
you
I'm
don't-
kidding. I do know what Twitch is, but
oh.
I've never been to Twitch.
That's a sin. So I think if you just go to PAX East's Twitch at 1:00 Eastern Standard Time and click the Dragonfly Theater feed, we're gonna be there, so you can check us out live.
You can
So-
see us.
Yeah,
Real human beings as opposed to just disembodied voices on the internet.
or robots. You don't know. Don't judge me. But enough of everything else. We're saying get out to everything but get out.
Oh boy, is that your segue?
Yeah,
Yep. Okay. Cool.
about as smooth as riding one. Shahir, let's talk about this. What'd you think initially?
So initially, I have to admit, I saw this as a double feature because I had to catch up on some movies specifically for this podcast. So I was very tired going into this. And because I knew what the concept was, I knew that Jordan Peele was behind it, I knew that it was a Blumhouse film, I was kind of like, okay, I think this is going to be good. It was really good. It was really good. And I will say this before we even get into what the film is. This is a film to see in a theater. I think the last Blumhouse film we did was Ouija, Origin of Evil. I think I don't know if it's a different cultural thing. In New Zealand, we don't talk to the movie when we're in a theater watching the movie, but I've noticed it's a very distinctly American thing, which is that people talk to the movies.
It depends on the film.
Yeah, but people shout at the movies when they're here. And 5 times out of 10, that really bugs me and it annoys me. But in the case of a good horror, where people are actually like talking to the screen because they're really into it.
Well, horror is such a communal experience too, because this is. I won't say that horror is easy to do. I don't think that's the case. But the feelings of fear and unease and things like that are very communal.
Yeah.
Like you might not get everyone to cry at a sad moment, but chances are you can get everyone to feel uncomfortable at a scary one.
And also, like, hearing someone scream next to you really breaks the tension in the room. So I saw this now, and this is a weird one to say as well. I saw this in a predominantly African-American crowd.
Okay.
Not by design, I guess. It was just, the people that were going to go see the movie. And their engagement of the film was amazing.
Oh, they were loving it.
Oh, and also, because this film basically plays on the subtle racial cues that most people who aren't of a minority miss.
Yeah.
And that's what this film is basically highlighting in many, many cases. But then it gets into, like, absurd levels. And to see that on screen with an audience, a predominantly minority audience, and like know that they know exactly what the moment is, where the characters don't, was kind of special to experience in that way. And so I would highly recommend. I know it's been a week since this movie came out. So first off, go see the movie. It's great. It's a lot of fun. I have a couple of issues that I want to raise about it later on, but nothing like.
Nothing that keeps you from the theater.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Nothing that says that this is anything but a movie you should slap your money down for immediately. But seeing it in a communal experience, preferably with other African Americans, is as weird as that might sound in terms of like trying to choose your audience, which is a strange concept in all. But it actually makes the movie a much better experience, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that, but is that too hot topic to start off with?
No, not at all. I think so. I saw it with a pretty fully mixed crowd in Brooklyn, and the really interesting thing on my end of it was I noticed that all of the people of color would react to certain. I definitely watched the audience a lot in this one.
Yeah.
And the people of color would react differently to certain things than the white people would, and the white people react differently.
Yeah.
But it was interesting how uncomfortable the white people were. Not only at the white people in this movie being the bad guys, but at this movie does something really adept and wonderful. It takes stereotypical, like, microaggression-y, like, racist stuff, and puts it in a framework of a horror film, which means everyone can understand at least a sliver of the experience at that point. Like, because I'm putting something that is so, well, not I, Peele put all this stuff in a framework that everyone, no matter what race you are, can understand, and that being a horror film. So cues, cadence of the way the plot and the story and the dialogue and even the music is happening, right? And at those moments where something normally tension building or scary would happen, it would be a microaggression or something slightly racist. And that to me was so interesting because I noticed it worked on me, and then I was like looking around, I was like, oh wow, like everyone's being called out on bullshit. Like, it was very interesting.
I mean, even so on a Matt, first, before we even go into it, what's the film about? Tell us.
Oh, the IMDb synopsis?
Give us the IMDb
Sorry,
synopsis.
we just jumped ahead. This is gonna tell you shit. A young African-American man visits his Caucasian girlfriend's mysterious family estate.
Accurate, completely accurate.
I guess.
And the first thing that happens that I think is a really good telling sign of things to come is he has a conversation with his girlfriend, played by it's Daniel Kaluuya, who you might remember from Sicario, a very fine actor in Sicario. Mm-hmm. I really, really dug him in that film. And his girlfriend's played by Girls Allison Williams. He asks her, does her parents know that he's black?
Right, they're packing to go away to her place for the weekend.
Yeah,
and she reacts in a way that I feel like non-racist white people might, even though this could be seen as insensitive.
Yeah. Well, no, she Do you think she's being insensitive?
I don't know. I honestly, you could look at it from both ways, because he wants to know if he's told her parents because he doesn't want to feel uncomfortable there.
Yeah.
She is so, quote, progressive that she's like, no, like, it doesn't matter. Like, they shouldn't matter. My parents are cool. Like, this shouldn't matter to them. I'm not going to be like, oh, yes, by the way, I think I'm dating a black man.
Or like a black man.
So, like, I get from both characters' perspective, their feelings are totally valid at this point. But, like, and she plays it off very sort of cavalierly and sort of puts him at ease, or at least assumingly at ease, as much at ease as he possibly could with them not having been told.
Yeah, exactly. And then she says one thing that I think was actually a really great. It's kind of the kind of comedy that they would do on Key and Peele. But she says this line: "My dad, played by Bradley Whitford, who is just awesome in everything he does. Shout out to The West Wing, and shout out to one of my favorite horror films, Cabin in the Woods."
Yeah.
But she says, "My dad would have voted for Obama in a third term." And then when they go to meet Bradley Whitford...
Even beyond that, though, hold on. Even beyond that, she says that, and he kind of rolls his eyes at her.
Yeah.
But then she goes, and he's going to tell you
about it.
At great length. So, like, she's even undercutting, like... She's saying, yes, that my parents are not racist. They won't care. They're going to be lame about it, but they're not going to be hateful about it.
So do you think, this is actually a good question. And so off the bat, again, what I love about this movie is that it's based entirely in the interactions that are very human and real today. It's based in the kind of interactions that you and I would have on a daily basis. And
when I bring you home to my parents' house.
When you bring, exactly. Yep. Yeah. Where's he from? What does he look like?
Oh, New Zealand?
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh.
It's and I think it actually brings up an interesting conversation. Do you think like what's the underpinning? So when Daniel Kaluuya meets his dad, his name, by the way, is Chris in the film. When he meets Bradley Whitford, the first thing he says is, "By the way, I would have voted for Obama a third time." Also, it's in context of the fact that Chris has noticed that they have
You're jumping way ahead.
No, they have This is right. This is right at the top. Chris
we haven't gone the road trip or talking to the friend or the deer. You're going all over the place.
But do you need?
Yeah, man.
Do we need to?
Because there's a lot of symbolism in a lot of that
but
shit.
I want to get to this point specifically.
Okay.
All right. So the specific point I want to get to is that the first thing Chris notices is that they have black servants in the house, a black caretaker and a black housekeeper.
Yes.
And so Bradley Whitford then says to him, "And I would have voted for Obama a third time." Do you think that what's the underpinning behind him saying that? Is it an apology for the fact that they have black servants? Is it to say, "Hey, I'm cool, I'm hip"? Is it to be an apologist, or is it actually insensitive to say something like that?
I mean, I can't make that call because I'm not the minority in question. However, what I would say is, in context with the rest of the scene, he and Chris are walking outside after he gives him a very forceful tour of the house. Yeah. Filled with a bunch of other kind of maybe microaggressions, maybe just sort of weirdities.
I just find the term microaggressions weird because I don't I know it's come up a lot in the sort of a lot of people are calling it the liberal left, or the insane liberal left, or the social justice warrior kind of thing. So do you think these are actually microaggressions, or are these just like normal human?
I'm going to answer the first question, and then I'll answer the second question that you've just posed.
Okay.
The fact that he's saying this to Chris outside in full context of the dialogue that's going on, he takes him outside and he goes, "Look." He's like, "I know what this looks like. I know what you must be thinking." He's like, "White family, black people working here. Like, what the fuck's going on?" And Chris tries to play it cool.
Yeah.
He's like, no, but he obviously thought it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Look, that we hired Georgina and Walter. Walter played by Marcus Henderson, and Georgina played by Betty Gabriel."
Okay.
He's like, we hired them to take care of our parents before they passed away, and then once they passed, like, we just had gotten so used to them, we really liked having them around, and they wanted to stay, so they just they stuck around, and now that's why they're here.
Right.
And he kind of, in the way that the dialogue goes, he kind of diffuses it as much as one can diffuse that situation, and then in order to try to feel hip, I think, and sort of with it, along with his how long has this thing been going on, or whatever he says. He says the Obama line, at this point, you just could think that the father is, yes, a nice dude, but someone who's out of touch, but trying too hard to make someone feel comfortable that then in turn might even lead to, depending on the person or the situation, that person feeling more uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying, oh, you're, some people say to me, you're Indian, I love Indian food kind of thing. And
right, which is insane to me.
It happens all the time. And the thing is,
I know, but look, I don't think, and this wraps into the microaggressions question. And let's listen to the white guy's opinion on microaggressions.
No, I think it's because I actually have not given this topic a lot of thought, but I know it's like it's that concept is out in the world right now.
Sure, and I think the reason why I tend to notice this stuff is obviously not from really like personal experience from people talking to me, but I am probably to a fault one of the most kind of neurotic conversationalists.
Okay.
Like if I care about,
you should host a podcast.
If I care about the person that I'm speaking to, or the conversation at least, what's important, etc., I go to great lengths to try to take not only like two paths. One, the path of least resistance and not accidentally insulting someone, and to be the most interesting conversationalist that I can be. Like it's kind of tiring and it might be a bit OCD, but like I think about this stuff all the time. So for instance, if I'm meeting a new person, like I know people that would say that Indian food thing. And I would look at them and be like, are you fucking kidding? Like, because look, and this is my opinion and it doesn't sort of count, but like, do I think that is a huge deal? No. If it happens every fucking day, I would be furious. It's like death by inches at that point. And I understand that minorities in this country, even with people that sort of feel very like that might not actually be racist, everyone's a little bit racist.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that race, to call someone racist, like clouds them in a blanket that is too broad, and that's kind of the problem you see in the fight between the left and the right now, is that the left calling people on the right ignorant and racist is being like, no, we're not ignorant and racist, we are, like there are multi levels to like what we believe and what we don't believe. They're
just ignorant. No.
So it's kind of it's a really broad topic, but I think what I love about this film is that it gives us the experience of layering all those interactions on top of each other in a very, very tight time frame.
And in a way that explains them well to people that do not normally think about these sort of things. Again, I go back to the cadence of a horror movie, and whenever these things happen, it's the same as like a tense moment looking for a killer. Like it just reads the same. So even if you're white in the audience, you feel Chris's uncomfortableness because of the craft that this thing was done. And that to me is like, it is mind-blowing that like, holy shit, this like you can transfer a small part of this and make anyone understand.
And what's so we did jump around, and the one that we missed, the interaction that we missed, is at the beginning of the car ride to the estate.
Yes, jumping back.
They hit a deer by a deer jumps out on the road. And they call the police. The police comes, and the first thing that, after a very polite conversation, the police officer asks Chris for his driver's license. And he doesn't have one. He has only state ID. And Rose, played by Allison Williams, suddenly jumps in and goes, no, you don't need his ID.
I was driving. There's no need, and he's like, no, I need to ask for everyone's ID. And we immediately, again, it's not stated here what's happening, but we immediately know what is happening here, which is that... indicating a problem in our society. Let's just throw that out there.
Well, but it might not be. I mean, I don't know police procedure here. Like, maybe it is
No. I'm not saying the police procedure is wrong. I'm saying the fact that everyone in the audience, and Chris as a character, and Rose as a character, at that moment instantly thought, oh, it's because he's black.
Yeah.
And the fact that happens,
right,
that's the issue.
And even the cop knows it as well. The cop knows that as soon as I ask for this, it's going to look... I mean, the fact that she's questioning me about this makes it seem like, even if my intentions, even if this was just standard police procedure, I now am, covered in that blanket of potential racists.
Yeah.
And so he smiles and gets away. And Chris says something in the car ride back. From there, he goes, that was really hot, And she's like, I'm not going to let anyone mess with my man. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I would have presumed that he might have felt like he needed to say something like, hey, you don't need to stick up for me all the time. But he was like, no, I appreciate that. You know, like you don't need to, but I appreciate it. And I was like, oh, there's this dimension to this relationship. Now, what I was worried about is the dimension to this relationship. What it concerned me was she only dating him because he was black?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, as the movie goes on,
that
spoiler
question,
alert.
That question,
yes,
that question becomes answered at some point.
But Jarrah, friend of the show, and
Jarrah Milligan, host of Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood.
Yes, in his podcast, I believe he said, or maybe one of his co-hosts did, but they said how I think some of them liked that moment and some of them didn't because it was like. I guess I don't know. I can't speak for that, but like I think it can be read a bunch of different ways. If I was in
that he said that was hot.
Yeah, because it's odd. Like because it's again at that point. Again, I feel so weird talking about this because I'm the white dude.
But and know that this is a safe space.
No, yeah, the internet's real safe. No, I just think like if okay, I'm going to try to put this in terms that I can relate to. If I'm in a situation where I realize that something is being done to me unfairly,
right,
and my girlfriend comes and sticks up for me in a way that I'm just trying to, like, for instance, that scene could have taken a very different turn.
Right.
That scene could have been like, "No, ma'am, against the car, sir, you two," like very like because she's mouthing off. But for instance, this is what I think Jarrah said. If Chris had put up the fight, because Chris was very amicable. He was like, here it is, and she was like, no.
Yeah,
that would have been very different.
Yeah,
and I think that's why that was hot moment rubbed certain people a different way because
it's also. Well, sorry. Go
ahead. Just because it's the fact that Chris in this societal moment doesn't even have that option.
Right, and it speaks to a kind of the other side of this, the deeper dimension to this, is that her being able to speak to the police officer in that way speaks to a certain privileged position that she holds.
That's what it was. Yep.
That Chris doesn't hold.
Yep.
And I think again, it's just such good observational writing. You know, like I know it might seem like it's a little bit on the nose, but that's the world that this film lives in, and every interaction is loaded with that kind of conversation about race, and that's what I really loved about it. And so the next thing that happens, you know, that we talked about a little bit earlier, is that they pull into the estate, and the first thing that Chris notices is that they have an African American groundskeeper, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, like, and you can see him go, oh, is that what this, you know, like is because his girlfriend has professed, you know, intently that you know, they don't see color, but they live on this big estate, and they have an African American groundskeeper, and then they have an African American housekeeper as well, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, like he can sense that this is actually, if not an on the surface issue, it is a subsurface issue that he might need to address, and Bradley Whitford kind of mentions it later on.
Sure, and also, I mean, throughout this entire thing, we'll be referencing back. He in the car trip up and a couple times in the house before shit hits the fan. Chris Starks calls his friend Rod.
Yeah. Oh man, I love Rod in this movie, played by
Lil Rel.
Lil Rel. Okay. Yeah.
He's like, because he's watching his dog back home.
Yeah.
And he's telling him like, it's weird they have, you know, these two
don't go in there.
African people's like, you should. He's like, you're gonna. This is weird. Like this, this is weird. You know, whatever. Anyway, he's a great character
I think
in the film.
That character is really the audience surrogate.
Oh, he's the cipher, 100%.
Yeah, and he's also like closer in tonality to the Key and Peele kind of comedy mold. You know, like he's the one. You know, he's a TSA agent who's like, why are people pissed off that I'm patting down a grandma? You know, like the next time there's a terrorist attack, it's going to be geriatrics and you know, like it's that kind of like strange Key and Peele comedy that they're known for. And he's definitely an audience surrogate as well. He like releases the tension valve every now and again, every time he's on.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, like that's the kind of obvious thing that I wouldn't like, but he's very good at it. He's so good in this role that it's like I kind of just love every time he's on the screen.
So we sit down eventually to dinner, right? Is that where we're at? And Dad's a neurosurgeon and Mom's a hypnotist.
Yeah, Catherine Keener as well, like old favorite back in the day, being John Malkovich.
Yeah, and then and 40-year-old virgin.
Oh right, not a big 40-year-old virgin.
Well, I mean, when you're living it, just you don't need.
Boom! Boom goes the dynamite. Thank you very much. Very.
Just kidding. You have a child.
Yeah. I had sex that one time. That's pretty much what my child is evidence that I had sex once.
You just hold him up.
Yeah. Like listen, guys.
Again, I don't see the child anywhere. I just want to point that out to the audience. I see children's toys.
Yeah.
No kid. And then we also meet Rose's brother, Jeremy, played by Caleb Landry Jones, who is a psychopath.
Yeah, he's very unhinged. One thing just backing up as well, I like that we saw here is that this Bradley Whitford does this tour of the house, and immediately there's this one. Like everything I started doing was like looking at the artwork on the screen. Like I was like, oh, does he have African American art here, or is he going to tell him something about because he was like, I collect these artifacts from like other countries
all over the world.
All over the world. I know it's lucky that I've been to these places, and I was like, is he going to try and school him on something that he might know already? But the first thing he does is he tells him that his grandfather, or Bradley Whitford's dad, was the guy who came second in the 1940s Olympics in Germany, in Berlin, and lost to Jesse Owens. And Jesse Owens was the guy who famously won that despite Adolf Hitler's much protestations of an African-American man winning the Olympic challenge. And I immediately knew that was going to be a factor in this film later on, and became kind of it's again one of those like little, where's this going? Where's he going with this? Why is he telling him this?
There's a lot of good moments like that.
Yeah, I loved it.
The there's other things too they do with the camera work. Like, again, I feel bad because we're all hopping all around, but like when they first arrive at the house, the introductions aren't done in close-ups.
No,
it's one long wide shot.
And the reason being is that we pull back to reveal the groundskeeper watching that interaction. Yeah. It's a nice little touch. I know.
The way it sort of what's happening with the groundskeeper, sort of how he sees the world, and like it all ties in very well. Anyway, so after a couple, and I'll say it again, microaggressions have been like, how long has this thing been going on? My man, and even the brother at dinner is like, with your genetic makeup, you could fucking be a beast. Like he's talking about judo and like wants to like play fight him and shit.
Yeah.
Side note, anybody who wants to play fight you when you're an adult
is a terrible person.
Yeah, like you just meet.
Yeah.
That's the key factor there.
Yeah. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah. They also noticed that Chris is a smoker. Chris smokes the cigarettes, the nicotine. He's a dirty doper of tobacco.
Yeah.
And the mom's like, I can take care of that for you because she's a hypnotist. And he's like, no.
I love Daniel Kaluuya's performance here when he's kind of like looking at them going, I want to be polite to you guys, but also at the same time, this is a little crazy. And he just like gives them just enough of a wink to like, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
I mean, look, he's playing the parents like the best you could possibly do. I've been in situations where I go to a significant other's house and things, I mean, not this weird, but things feel a little off. And you just have to be polite, and it's very hard, especially when they like push more food on you, or you want to play a game.
Meeting the parents is always an awkward kind of situation.
I've had it not be. I've had it be wonderful, but it can be trying. Then that night, I think that's where we're at now. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're in spoilers. Did we say that?
Okay, we're in. Dum.
Yeah.
At this point, you can go watch the movie. I'm presuming you've watched the movie.
Yeah, and if you didn't, you should.
You should absolutely watch it.
Chris goes outside and he's like, you know what? I need to smoke a cigarette. So he goes outside and he walks outside. He's
only to be confronted by
light up a cigarette. He looks in the window. He sees Georgina sort of staring at herself with the mirror and then like running away,
which is weird.
And then he turns and sees the groundskeeper Walter. Just running at him full tilt. And then right when he gets to him, because Chris is kind of in shock, he just veers 90 degrees to the right or to the left.
Right.
And he runs the other direction.
So here's the point at which, my problem with this film is that it's kind of the same problem I had with The Handmaiden a little bit, which is that
lesbian scenes were too short.
Yeah, way too short in this film. But I knew immediately what had happened here, which was that that groundskeeper was sprint training, and that was in direct relation to the Jesse Owens photo thing. So I kind of like
See, I didn't catch that at all.
I just started connecting the dots like immediately in that scene. I didn't quite know exactly where it was going, but I knew that like whatever horror that was in this house had something to do with their grandparents immediately, because he was a sprinter who'd lost to Jesse Owens, and now there was a black man sprinting outside their house at night. So
Chris goes in from that,
yeah,
and runs into the mom doing the typical parent thing, like sitting in the dark and turning on the light and being like, "Hello, I've been waiting for you this entire time." She sits down. She has a cup of tea, which is very prominent, and she's stirring it and making a little tea scrapey noise. And she basically, because she gives the line of like, because she's like, "I really got you to help me quit smoking."
Biggie, can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me.
Yeah. And she's like, she says this line of, I mean, she's my daughter.
Yeah.
Like trying to like guilt him into letting her fix his smoking habit. And he still kind of says no, but then she starts asking him crazy personal questions, and then he's slowly being hypnotized.
Well, she uses that hypnosis trick, which is that there's a sound that's constant, which kind of lulls you into something.
Yep.
Have you ever been hypnotized?
No, I can't be, sadly. I've
really?
tried.
I've been to a hypnosis show, and I was one of the people that couldn't be. You know, like they do some sort of test. Now, I don't know.
Maybe, I mean, I'm sure there's all different sorts of ways.
Yeah.
But
I'm very curious about like the process of hypnosis.
I would love it. Like I bite my cuticles on my hand. I would love to get rid of that thing. But almost the idea of like hypnosis to quit smoking or hypnosis to stop a bad habit just seems like too good to be true and kind of lazy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to hack my brain. And then the other part of that is like, well, what am I damaging by doing? Like, what else am I shutting off?
Right.
I don't know.
But
I'm no hypnotist.
But what I loved here is that, so this is where the famous line comes in, now go to the sunken place, or now sink.
Now you're in the sunken,
now you're
sink.
In.
And he just sinks down into the floor.
Yeah.
And we get this cool perspective of him sort of in this black void looking up at a window that is his perception.
Yeah.
And you instantly understand that he is no longer in control of his own body.
Yeah, exactly. And he's watching a screen. And I thought this was, again, this is a low budget film, as obviously evident by the fact that it's a Blumhouse film. But I thought this was just a really smart way to play this, and it felt big. You know what I mean? It felt like it didn't feel cheap. It felt true to what the experience was, and when that happened, it really surprised me, and I was kind of like, oh wow, I'm kind of into this. But it's also there's a story that this is another thing that I wasn't like, just as far as storytelling goes, I wasn't super into, is that Chris has guilt about his mother's death, which is evidenced when they hit the deer as well. He thinks about the deer and his mother, because his mother was
hit and run on the side of the road,
and Chris was at home. He was a little kid
waiting for her. Someone could have saved her if they got to her in time.
Yeah, and he just sat and waited for her. And so Catherine Keener's character kind of guilts him into being hypnotized by bringing up that story
and having him sit still.
Yeah. Now the only thing,
the acting when he's trapped is wonderful too. It's just like the facial and the tear.
I really liked that story element. It didn't quite just go far enough for me to like make it work. And I want to the way I kind of correlate that in another film, which I know not every film is 1-to-1, but The Descent, which has a death in the beginning of the very, very first frame of the film, is a death that haunts the main character for the entire film. And it becomes a key factor in the decision she makes later on. Whereas I felt like this was a really clever thing, but it didn't like completely affect who his character was and what he did later on. I know there's
but it was just a bit of backstory. You're right; it didn't tie in as neatly.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like an interesting little character moment that didn't really. For everything else that was so tight, this felt a little.
I guess you could with the thing we'll get to at the very end when he decides to drive back to pick someone up who'd been hit by a car. That could also sort of play into it a little bit.
That.
I don't know. You're right though. You are right. There's a little bit of disconnect. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he wakes up and he's in bed with Rose.
Yep.
He's like, oh, I had a crazy dream, blah, blah, blah. And so as they're getting ready for the day, he goes and he's walking outside taking pictures, and he sees Walter, the guy who was sprinting. And Walter apologizes in his crazy, like, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. I hope I didn't frighten you. That's how both of the servants talk in this house.
Yeah. Which is very awkward to begin with, but there's a reason for it later on as we get to it later.
And then, like, even there's a little bit with Georgina unplugging his cell phone.
Yeah.
And she tries to explain it like, "Oh, I was cleaning, and
That
rather than
scene-
further whatever." And
Look, if there's an Oscar,
no.
if this film ever gets nominated for an Oscar, that like little moment played by Betty Gabriel, when she says no, and tears comes out of her eyes. Just the framing of that shot,
So
the
good.
angle, the performance was I was like, I just had a. This is the thing about this movie. I had a grin from ear to ear as this movie just kept going and as it came to an end. And that was like the point at which I was like, man, I'm really digging this movie.
Yeah.
This is really, he's onto something here. He's onto something really, really good. So I love that moment.
So he says, "I'm sorry, did it fright you?" And this is when Chris realizes that, whoa, he probably wasn't dreaming. That probably all happened. And then he confronts Rose. He's like, "I think your mom hypnotized me last night." He's like, "I don't even want to smoke."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, that's so uncool," and blah, blah, blah. And then they like kind of laugh it off during brunch, which I thought was weird. And then
the party happens.
So then they're like, "Oh, that was this weekend? Oh, I didn't remember."
Yeah, which
and
is
Chris
strange.
is like, "What the fuck?" And all these weird fucking white people and one Asian dude show up.
Who all take so up until this point, the kind of racial insensitivity or racially motivated questions that people don't realize
Could be equated to awkwardness.
Yeah, could be equated to awkwardness or just like being insensitive,
but not anymore.
But not anymore. The first thing that happens is like people start like touching him on the shoulder and going, "Wow, you're so fit and handsome." And then
is it true what's going on down there?
Yeah, is it true what they say?
Oh, you play golf? Oh, we love Tiger.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the other one? Oh, black is in fashion.
Yeah, which is probably the most awkward one. But then something else happens, which is that there's another African American at the party, played by Lakeith Stanfield, who I loved from Short Term 12.
Oh,
by the
we
way.
left out the very beginning when he's walking down the road.
That wasn't him, though.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, was that Lakeith?
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, so in the very beginning of this, it's him. He's walking down the road in a suburban neighborhood at night, and it's the classic like horror movie like character in the beginning is gonna die, but like it's obviously a little bit flipped on its head.
Oh,
yeah,
it was so
and
dark.
it's the brother.
I didn't even
Eventually, this car comes, turns around. He's like, "Ah, fuck this." He walks the other way, and then he looks around. The door's open. He gets hit and dragged into the trunk. That's the brother.
Huh. Now, I will, in my defense of not realizing that, the people, I was sitting next to some people who decided to come into the movie at that moment and started like trying to get the people next to me to move over so they could get space, and they were standing in front of me, and it was very distracting.
Fair enough. But yeah, that was him. So we see him at the party.
See, now does that make that more of a giveaway that
No, because at this point, if you don't know something's
completely
wrong,
forgotten about that scene.
If you didn't know that something was off in a bad way, then you don't deserve to understand films.
Okay.
Like it's just
maybe I don't deserve to understand.
No. I'm not saying you. I'm saying if a person is gonna think that ruins it,
right?
Like
I think maybe the only thing is that it gives away that. Because I think the line that the film is towing are these people insensitive, or is there something more sinister afoot?
Well, luckily, about 10 minutes after this, you find out.
Right, and
so
something is more sinister.
Something is afoot. Chris goes around and he actually runs into. There's one other sort of part that's important here. He runs into a photographer or art dealer that he's a fan of. Played by Stephen Root, Jim Hudson.
Yeah, I've seen Stephen Root in a couple of Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah, and Have You Seen My Stapler?
Oh, was he the?
Yeah, Office Space.
Yeah, Office Space guy. I didn't realize.
And they have a nice conversation. He's an art dealer. He'd actually seen some of Chris's photos, and he liked him.
And he also seems like the first guy
who's like not a dick.
Yeah, who's like, no, I get it.
Fully not a dick.
Yeah, the people here don't understand like the situation you're in, or like what it's like to be you. So he seems like a good guy.
But he goes over to the dude in the beginning. He's like, "Hey, it's nice to see another brother around here, or whatever." And he acts so strange as well.
Yeah.
And eventually, the Asian dude asks Chris, like, would you describe the African-American experience as being positive or helpful or hurtful or hinders?
What's it
I forget.
like?
He was basically whatever. He's like, "Oh, I think my friend here can answer it," pointing at
And he wants to send a photo to his buddy Little Ray.
Yeah, Andrew. But this is the part that sort of fell apart for me.
Okay.
Now, later on, you find out from in a conversation after what happens, he says to Rose, like, in that moment, I feel like I knew him.
Right.
But what happens is he takes a picture to send off to Rod.
Yeah.
and it snaps something in him. His nose starts bleeding, and he starts screaming, "Get out! Get out! Get out!" to Chris,
and not in the sort of affected voice that he had been using earlier,
right? In a real scared, real voice.
Yeah, and his nose bleeds as well.
Yeah, and it freaks him out, and then the mother takes him in and like gives him a hypnosis session or whatever.
Yeah,
but Chris says to Rose, in that moment, I felt like I knew him. Now, the only reason to take that picture would be if you felt like you knew him.
Well, I think he was taking a picture just to like show to Rod that this is how weird this is.
I guess. What my point is, that moment, because this movie does so much, slick. He does it so slick and so smooth. This moment felt very bumbly to me. Okay. Like he holds the camera at his chest. Like to take the picture, not like kind of looking at it, then accidentally has the flash. It all felt a little like, and now he has to take a picture to instigate this.
Right.
And that was one of the only sort of fumbly points, but it's only because the rest of the movie is sliding on butter.
Right.
Like, it's so aptly done.
Yeah, that's the thing. Any holes that I'm picking at this film at this point, you should know, are just minor little details.
Yeah.
Again, first time film, from a first time writer director, it's exceptional for that. You know, like so anything which is just like, oh, maybe we could have had a little of this, but I don't really believe that. So then Chris decides he's gonna go for a walk because he's really upset.
Him and Rose go for a walk to sort of walk it off. But they skip bingo because they just have to go for a walk. They're gonna skip bingo.
It's weird. I wonder what Bradley Whitford's plan was if they had stayed for bingo, like how he was gonna.
It was Rose's idea to go for the walk.
Was it?
Yep.
Oh, I can't recall how it happened.
So
but
bingo is not bingo. It's a silent auction with a picture of Chris in a gazebo.
This is when you should.
That if you don't know now, it's not. They're not choosing this to take him on vacation.
Yeah, there's something. Something is afoot here.
Yeah,
and there's a silent bingo that is won by our stapler man. Which again, this is like one of the articles I've read about this film is that this is one of the best discussions about slavery that is not a slave film. We've had 12 Years a Slave, obviously recently, Birth of a Nation,
sure.
Roots. Slavery on film has been around for a while, but this is actually a really apt modern conversation about slavery in a modern context. I mean, did you kind of did the auction in some ways kind of feel like it was engaging in that?
I mean, it's in a gazebo.
Okay, does that matter?
I don't know, for whatever reason, gazebos feel very plantation-esque.
Okay. I also felt like the fact that he was wearing a collarless shirt, like Chris was walking around in a collarless shirt, something like that kind of felt a little bit plantation-y to me.
I mean, yeah, you can't take it's all a big racism
film.
Stew.
Yeah. Every film is designed in some respects.
So Chris and Rose have a big long conversations like, that wasn't a seizure. My cousin has seizures. That's not what they look like.
Yeah.
Rose kind of writes them off for a bit, and they're gone for a while. Then finally she's like, you know what? Fine. If this makes you uncomfortable, we'll leave. I'll make up a thing. We'll leave in the morning.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, thank you. He's like, you're the best, and they have a moment.
But then he's kind of he's into this relationship, and I wasn't sure if there was something she said that made him want to stay because he was hypnotized. Because there was a couple of phrases that Bradley Whitford and Catherine Kriener had obviously used as kind of trigger words, and they said, why don't you get some rest or something like that? And they said it to both Lakeith's character and Betty's character as well. So I wondered if she said something that kind of triggered him to stay, to remember that.
But they decide to leave.
They decide to leave. Yes,
in the morning.
Yeah, and that's when this is the second act turning point. Leading us into the big grand finale happens, which is Chris is packing his bags. He's getting ready to go. He looks into what looks to be a closet door that's open, and in it is a box, a red box, and he opens up the red box, and inside the box are photographs of every one of Rose's previous boyfriends. And one girlfriend, who are all African American, including the last picture of that girl who is the housekeeper. She
had already said to him in the car on the way up that he was her first African American boyfriend.
Yeah, so this is where the penny drops, and he's got to get out of there. I don't know why at this point he doesn't realize that she's in on it.
I think he just hopes she's not.
Yeah, she hopes he's not. And I kind of was wondering like whether the parents are like the supreme evil and
Controlling Rose.
Yeah, and she's hypnotized and doesn't realize it either. But no. That is not the case.
There's a great twist. She does a wonderful move where she's like, I can't find the keys. I'm so sorry. I can't find them. And the parents and the brother being all creepy and not letting Chris leave. And then he's like screaming at Rose like to get the keys. And she's like, you mean these keys? And she like snaps out. She's, you know, you can't, the line you said, you know, I can't give you these keys, babe.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
And he drops into this sunken place. And we're into like, you know, your worst fear being buried alive or like being unable to control your body kind of moment.
So, problem I have with film number 2.
Problem with film number 2
I have
or
a
this
problem
film?
with this film. There's a second problem I have with this
Because there is
film.
a New Zealand film called Number 2, by the way.
Oh, well, I've never seen it.
Okay.
But I'm sure it's wonderful based on its point of origin.
Yeah.
So this little video they play, he's strapped down to a chair in the basement.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about, and maybe it's because this was done for such a budget, but even big budget things, they cannot get the look of a television right on a fucking movie. Like the look of a screen. Because like he's strapped to a chair and it's an old school tube television and it turns on and plays him an infomercial about what's going to happen to him from the grandfather of Rose.
Which is the strangest thing, because if ever you wanted to catch someone and, you know, like doing something wrong, the first thing you do is check if they have made video evidence of such a thing.
Right, but these people are so beyond thinking they're wrong that they're literally Nixoning it all over the damn place and it doesn't matter.
Trumping it, perhaps?
Well, here's hoping.
Yeah.
It's this whole thing about how, like, you're going to be part of this great thing, and my family figured it out, and what we're going to do is take someone's brain and attach it to the stem of your brain.
Right. I didn't understand exactly what they were saying when they said it was the coagulant or the coagula or something.
Coagulant.
The coagulant.
So it basically, and I didn't get it at first, because at first I thought they were just going to hypnotize people and, like, sort of try to transfer consciousness, but I'm like, that doesn't
I didn't
quite
understand
work.
the transfer consciousness until we saw Stapler Man again.
Right. So, but he's basically talking about how you're going to take a brain and attach it to the base of your brain. And while you'll still be there being able to see what's going on, you'll be a passenger. You won't be driving.
So this is basically the more scientific explanation of the Being John Malkovich company towards the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he freaks out and then the teacup happens and he falls asleep.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Rod's trying to find his friend. He hasn't come home in time. He's calling places. He calls Rose. Rose he realizes something's kind of up because she starts like basically coming on to him.
Yeah.
And he tries to record her, and then she blocks him or whatever. And he's basically running around with Chris's dog, trying to figure out what happened to his friend. He goes to the cops.
Yeah,
and he tells them the whole story.
He's also like, "Listen, I'm TSA. I have the same training you have, but I'm a detective just like you."
Yeah. And they're not having it, and they bring it. There's some great comedy moments.
This moment felt like it was kind of ripped almost directly from Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
But I appreciated the joke, and I thought it was very well executed as well.
Yeah. So then the third and final thing I didn't like about the film, again revolving around the TV.
Okay.
Photography, or the art dealer guy played by Stapler.
Okay.
He comes on the screen and starts talking to him because he's in the other room being prepped for surgery. So now all of a sudden this old tube TV is wired with Skype.
Yeah.
And there's audio visual connectivity and he's talking to him. And so I was just like, the setup of it, like everything else felt so like grounded and nice. Like this just was like, this is the path of least resistance, and we don't quite care that it doesn't make entirely all that much sense.
It's also exposition dump. It kind of feels a little bit exposition dump.
So, but here's where it turned around for me. They were talking about it, and I forget. I think Chris might have brought up race or something. He's like, and then I want to remember the character's name. I just call him Stapler Man. Jim. Jim's like, he's like, I don't know what the rest of these people do it for. He's like, but that's not me. He's like, I don't care what you are, who you are, whatever. This was offered to me, and he's like, he's like, you're a talented artist. He's like, I just want your eyes.
Right. Because he's blind.
So like, it's interesting that the person that bought him.
Yeah. He won him in the slave auction.
Yeah. I truly believe he's the only one I feel like that isn't doing this because he's black. He's just doing it because he's selfish and evil. It's not a race thing for him. He's the only one out of everybody, because everyone else makes a big deal of it.
Yeah.
And this man, I think this is sort of the cipher of, you can also be evil and not racist.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, because he's evil, and ultimately they are only choosing African Americans, and he
But
probably
he's
knows that.
but he even said he'd do it. He said, I forget what the line was. He's like, I don't care. He's like, if they brought me anyone, I would do this. But
Right.
like anyone with your gift, with your like your, I don't think he was coming from a racist place. He's the only character, only white person in this movie that is not racist, but he's still evil. He bought another human to put his brain into.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't I don't know whether that disqualifies him from being like, does it make it, it's one of those things where he's like, he's evil, but he's not, at least he's not racist, you know, like.
I don't know. I'd rather pure evil with conviction and not, because racism is inherently stupid.
Right.
It's a shortcut and an ill-gotten one to get to stereotypes. It's stupid. It's ignorant to be racist. However,
I remember in New Zealand, I didn't get in trouble for this, but because I made a short film, Double Happy, you can see it on my website, which is about race in some capacity. And I made the comment that I think racism is funny. I think racism, like, to me, there's an inherent.
Way to go. Yeah, we've talked about this. But we've talked about this in the podcast. You're talking about like friendly racism. Like, you would be fine with me making an Indian joke because we're close.
No, I wouldn't be cool with that. Of course I'd be cool with that.
But I remember saying this when we had this conversation. I wouldn't be cool with that.
Right.
Like, so it's also personal and it's also weird. And I get it. Like, it's cool that like you can find the fun in it. But at the end of the day, it is an ignorant practice. Like, it's a shortcut to you trying to identify traits in people. And yeah, sometimes it might be right, but sometimes it's going to be wrong.
And also, I think we were having a conversation earlier today where we talked about this. I think it's rooted in a lack of exposure to people of other colors.
Yes.
You know, and like if you're not exposed to people of other colors and you're told to,
it's very easy for outside sources that are like you to be like, oh man, these people are bad.
Yeah. And so I think that was really interesting. So this is kind of, you know, like towards the end of the third act, this is a kind of an area where I felt like the film, like, and again, first time film doesn't, you know, like, again, this is a minor shortcoming or note that I'm going to mention here. And it almost goes without saying, but I didn't feel like this whole sequence escalated in a way that was interesting to me. And, you know, like the film, like, again, the film that we're talking about before, Cabin in the Woods, escalates in its third act in a ridiculous way.
Sure.
But, you know, which is amazing. And it's a much bigger budget movie.
Right.
But this didn't feel like, this felt like they were kind of running through the motions of getting out. Like there's a scene where he realizes he can kind of like block his ears from.
Yeah, he scratches because he's been scratching at the chairs every time he's been hypnotized, but he takes the cotton and puts it in his ear. So when the teacup happens.
Which what I do love about that is that's a powerful image. He's picking cotton to cover his ears. Yeah. You know, like that's really clever writing.
So he puts it in his ears. The brother comes in to get him.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be sedated. He's not. Once he's unstrapped, he fights off the brother and smashes his head in.
Yeah.
A lot of blood on the floor. Right. Later on, there's a moment where the brother comes back and fights him again.
I didn't love this moment. Yeah.
I was like, whatever. Like, there was a lot of blood.
You know, the thing is that this is a...
this now turns into a survival third act horror movie.
Yeah, but it's also a small movie, so you need to like find ways to like escalate that. And, you know, like they do things like... he takes the cotton out of his ears and throws it away, and it's one of those things where I'm like, no, you got to use that again. But I know from a screenwriting point of view, you can't use the same trick
twice because it won't be fun.
Yeah, it's not as dramatically engaging.
So the father is in the middle of cutting open the guy who's Stapler Man's skull. He like throws his skull like like non-ceremoniously into the garbage, and then he's waiting for him. He's wondering what's taking so long. He walks down, and Chris takes a stag, as a stuffed taxidermied stag head from the wall, and stabs it through the father with the horns. And I was just like, "Yep, symbolism."
Yeah, I like that as well. I just, you know, I wish Bradley Whitford, just as great an actor as he is, I wish he'd had more of a scene at the end of this. You know,
sure, but it wasn't his movie. That's the thing. It was really Chris and Rose's movie.
It was, and I kind of wanted, maybe, you know, this is one of those things where it's like I kind of wanted this, but maybe if I'd gotten it, I would have hated it.
Sure,
kind of thing. It's like I kind of wanted a conversation or something where we really realize how callous that character is. You know, like I wanted to see the race issue come to the forefront.
I just think we got but see, I like it that it
and as soon as I say it, I feel like maybe it would have been bad. You know,
So he goes upstairs. He's confronted by the brother again as he's trying to get away. And there's a genius moment where he is fighting with the brother, and he keeps trying to reach for the door, and the brother keeps kicking the door closed. But he realizes he can't get. He's basically going to use that to stab the brother's leg.
Yeah.
Because he can't reach it anywhere else. And he gets through, and he finally smashes his head in more.
Yeah.
Brother dies.
Yeah.
He gets outside.
He kills Catherine Keener in the process as well. Like,
then he goes and then he smashes the teacup and then he fights her off and I think stabs her. Well, she stabs him in the hand with a knife and then he basically stabs her with the knife still through his hand. Then he gets outside. Rose comes outside at this point because she was like listening to music or something upstairs and she has a gun.
Yeah.
And then Chris is getting away in the car, and he gets on the phone with Rod.
Yeah.
And they figure out something. Rose says something about...
no, he's calling 911.
Is he?
Yeah, he's calling 911, and he's trying to explain where he is, what estate he is at and stuff, and then he gets disconnected. I mean, then he gets fired at when he jumps in the car and gets away.
But then how does he end up hitting Georgina?
Georgina is outside. She's running at the car, and he hits her, and then that's the decision he made. He
picks her up like, fuck, and he's like, gets her and puts her in the car.
Okay, so this is where that scene, everything pays off. You know, like it reminds him of his mother, but you know, like the only payoff here is he decides to like keep her in the car as opposed to like, you know, just driving away.
But then Rose says, "Get him, Grandpa."
Yeah.
And you realize officially that Walter, not Walter, was it Walter?
No,
it was Walter. Yeah, Walter, the groundskeeper, was the grandfather put into a new body, and Georgina was the grandmother.
Again, this wasn't a surprise for me. I kind of
this was validation at this point, not surprise. So he chases after him. Georgina makes the car crash, but she eventually dies. Chris crawls out.
Yeah.
Walter gets up there with the gun and is going to shoot Chris and has a bit of a monologue.
They have a little tussle where the camera flash makes a second appearance, which snaps him out of it temporarily. And again, the thing here is I knew what was going to happen once he got the gun.
He grabs the camera later.
I knew what was going to happen once Walter got in the gun. You know, like I knew exactly the way out for Walter here was to shoot Allison Williams,
Rose?
and then Rose, and then to shoot himself. Like I knew that was what's going to happen. Allison doesn't, of course, die, and Chris is left like almost strangling her, and she gives him this like evil smile. And this is the genius of the movie. This scene here, I think, is everything that makes this movie great. Okay. First off, it's that evil smile that she gives him, and it's what he realized, the way he reads that is that she's saying, play into the stereotype, because he's choking her
in the street,
in the woods. In the woods. And it's like, you're playing into, you're playing into the stereotype, and he doesn't want to do that.
Right.
So he's about to walk away, and this is what happened in my theater.
No, he's still strangling her when the cops roll up.
Cop lights roll up, and everyone in the audience was upset. They were like so in any other movie, when the cops roll up, the cavalry has arrived, the hero is saved. In this case, because he's an African American, because of the scenario that we're looking at, where he is an African American strangling a white woman who's just been shot, everyone in the audience knew exactly what that meant, which was that Chris is now more fucked than he was almost a minute ago. And that was, I think, was kind of the genius of this scene.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone in our audience was like shouting at the screen. It was like, like this was the lowest point for it until we realize who's behind that car or who's in the police vehicle.
It's Rod!
Yay! TSA!
Consider
the situation handled.
Yeah, he rescues Chris and they drive away and Rose dies.
How did you feel about that last moment?
Fucking loved it.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. The best part was obviously the comedic delivery. Like they're like, I don't want to say I told you so, but
you shouldn't have gone in that house.
Like he waits like 5 seconds to say it, and it's just it's genius. And then the film ends, and it's a perfect fucking horror movie.
I don't know about you. I wasn't particularly scared by this movie. I didn't get a lot of feeling of dread. But what it did do, that I think the kind of horror that Jordan Peele is into. He's actually curating the horror collection at BAM Theater right now, with films that he loves. And I think the films that he loves as a horror filmmaker are films that aren't about the supernatural horror, but are about like the psychological feeling of like, I can't get out. And so his films are like that he picks there are Rosemary's Baby, Rear Window, Night of the Living Dead, Silence of the Lambs, Misery, those kinds of things. And that's what the scene where Chris was trapped in the room with the TV, the feeling I got there was like, I don't know how he's going to get out of this.
Right.
And so that's where I think the horror of this film works really well. It's putting you in a position that makes you...
To be honest, it's not, you could call it a thriller more than a horror movie.
Yeah, I think so. But it's fun, it's entertaining. I mean, this will get into my final thoughts.
Sure.
It manages to straddle that line of being equally, I wouldn't say scary, but like unnerving. Yeah. And equally funny at the same time. Like, he doesn't lose his, he knows what the Jordan Peele brand is and the Key and Peele brand, and people are going to go see it for that reason. And he doesn't lose that audience at the same time. So it's a real tightrope walk. And it's the same thing with The Gift. I think The Gift, the Joel Edgerton film, is a film that straddles that line between being unnerving and creepy and also like takes a risk with its ending.
Sure.
So that's what I loved about this film. And like Jordan Peele has come out and said he's got 3 more socially motivated,
which is great,
horror films that he wants, or socially motivated films that he wants to do.
Yeah.
I think this is what I want to see from him. I think he's really smart at this. I don't think he needs to do a Marvel movie, which is like what, people would automatically jump to after their first film like this. That's as success as this is.
Look who brought up Marvel first.
There you go. Well, yeah, congratulations to you. I'm glad you won that.
I'm sure I didn't have the teacup spinning right now just to hypnotize you into saying that.
Well, yeah. But no, it's everything about this is great, worth seeing. And it's, like we're 2 weeks or a week out from the release of this film. Please go see it in a theater with as big an audience as you can. Absolutely loved it. Willing to see it again.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with all of that. I love horror movies in general, but I love the ones particularly that bring up more like actual real life issues and wrap them in fantastical situations. I mean, you brought up Cabin in the Woods, obviously, Night of the Living Dead, They Live, etc. And now this one, we actually have one that's like aimed directly at race. And obviously it's the proper time for that as we're dealing with a bunch of nonsense going on in our own government. But
every day.
Yeah. And it was a really refreshing take on a genre and done by a first-time director that, while he's obviously done a ton of other stuff that we enjoy, is so impressive. And again, all of the gripes we gave, it's only because the rest is just butter. It's so smoothly done and wonderfully crafted and smart and funny. And yeah, 100% what Shahir said. You should go see this in a theater. And I'm sure you have. And if you haven't, then...
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
You better go. So yeah, this has been the only podcast about the film Get Out. There should be more.
I mean, we did mention one other, but we're going to pretend it didn't exist.
I don't remember that. Dude, what?
Nope. Nope, don't remember that. Oh. If you want to recommend films for us to see, like Get Out, or perhaps another film, there's a film
or like anything
I would love us to do called Fight for Your Life, which is a racially motivated home invasion film that I saw many years ago that I think is kind of genius.
That's not The Purge?
It's not The Purge. No, was that racially motivated?
There's classism, which Ben ties into race. It's not. A lot of the poorer people are minorities in that film.
Okay, that's
or
fair
those
enough.
films.
Yeah. If you'd like to recommend a film for us to see, that doesn't have to be a horror film, but you can reach us at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at onlymoviepod, as our friend Jacob has, to instigate many very interesting conversations with us. Also, check out our website, onlymoviepodcast.com. Matt, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at Skeletor, the number 4 PREZ on Instagram, Emperor MSK on Twitter, obviously our Twitter as well, and MatthewKroll.com, where you can find all of my life and works. And yourself
is www.shahirdaud.com. That's SHAHIRDAUD.com.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. Next week, someone has come along. Schnicked. I am so fucking psyched. We're doing Logan. and it's going
another
to be
superhero movie.
Shut up. It's going to be brilliant. And if it's not, I'm really going to cry. Guys, thank you so much. We will see you next time.
Stay woke.